Good afternoon. My name's John Gilkison, and a couple weeks ago I posted a video on YouTube about a hypothetical outdoor lighting ordinance, and I haven't been happy with the results of that video. After doing it, I could see that the numbers could use some adjusting, and that it's really difficult to stand in front of a camera and spout off a bunch of numbers like 1 trillion lumen hours per year and how many kilowatts this and kilowatts that without the numbers in front of you, and it's easy to make mistakes. So what I did was I actually wrote up my scheme for controlling total amount of light used in a lighting ordinance into a lighting ordinance. And it's 4 pages long, and so here's the first 2 pages right here, and all the numbers are in front of you, so I want to go over it, and we can talk about the various parts of the ordinance. So here we go. So here you are, model outdoor lighting ordinance for a city of 100,000 people. And the reason I chose 100,000 people is that I'm using 1 trillion lumen hours and 100,000 people and 10 cents a kilowatt hour and so forth, because that makes all these figures easily adjustable. In other words, if you have an ordinance that has, it's for a city of 500,000 people or just for a city of 50,000 people, all you have to do is use a multiplier of 5x or 0.5 in order to make adjustments. So here we are, and so the lumens allotment per year for the city government right here, part 1A, is 300 billion lumen hours per year. And there's approximately 8,000 light fixtures in our city, which is approximately 100,000 people. So that works out to 37.5 million lumen hours per year per fixture, and 9,375 installed lumens per fixtures at 4,000 hours of operation per year per fixture. So I gave the same lumens budget to the business community right here in Part B, but there's only 11,250 businesses. So 300 billion lumen hours per year works out to 26.6 million lumen hours per fixture, or 6,660 installed lumens per fixture at 4,000 hours a year of operation. So as you can see, this business community has slightly less installed lumens per business than the city does per 8,000 streetlights. However, the homeowners, rental homes, apartments, and so forth, each person in the city, 100,000 people, has a budget of 4 million lumen hours per year, which amounts to 1,000 installed lumens at 4,000 hours a year. So the secret behind this whole ordinance is that individuals in the city or business community can sell their allotments at 1 million lumen hour per year increments for $2 per million lumen hours. So for example here, if you had a household, for example, and had 4 million lumen hours per year per person, and there was 4 people in the household, that would be 16 million lumen hours per year, and they only need the 4, technically. Not even that, depending on how they want to do their outdoor lighting, or if they even want to do any at all. So they could sell 12 million lumen hours per year to, let's say, a business. And at $2 a million lumen hours, that would amount to $24 a year they could get for their lighting budget. But once they sell it, they can't use it. So all of this is computer controlled, of course, or kept track of by a centralized computer. Now, to give you an idea, a a million lumen hours amounts to what's about a 25 watt light bulb, which puts out 250 lumens. At 4,000 hours a year, that's 1 million lumen hours. Now, if you wanted to double that budget, but you still only had a million lumen hours, but you wanted to double your installed lumens, you could declare, I'm only going to light for the first half of the night. In other words, dusk to dawn, dusk plus 30 minutes, and then for the first half of the night, and let's say that ended up being midnight, and then your lamp would go off. Well, you could install twice as many lumens. So instead of 250 lumens, you could install 500 lumens, for example. Now, of course, this would work out for any size lighting fixture that you chose. So this is a way to double your installed lumens budget by only lighting for the first half of the night. And there's some benefits to that also, because it keeps the second half of the night much darker. When people aren't out and about, there's just really no need for a lot of the lighting we see. But most of it runs off of dusk to dawn fixtures. And that's the reason we tend to overlight, because of this control methodology. So this is an aid, and it's actually an encouragement to do it this way, because businesses would, at $2 a million lumen hours, they could make that $2 go twice as far. So now here is a section that says all outdoor lights shall be full cutoff, or the functional equivalent. So here, lights under 1800 lumens of light output. This would be homeowners. And homeowner fixtures you tend to buy in stores are not full cutoff, but they can be made into full cutoff, and this ordinance describes how. Basically, it says that they must have opaque shielding to limit the light in the fixture to 10 degrees below the horizontal plane. Said fixture may be enclosed in a box or other shaped enclosure. It has an air gap between the shielding and the lamp of at least 3 inches on the side, and an air gap between the top of at least 5 inches, I believe. Yes. And radiant barrier is recommended to keep heat from flammable shielding material and to reflect more light out of the fixture. Now, but section A is even more important. We have specified in this ordinance that all lighting over 1800 lumens must be 90 lumens per watt efficient or more, and all light under 1800 lumens of output must have an efficiency of at least 60 lumens per watt or more. And what this allows the homeowner to do, for example, with a smaller fixture, is to use a compact fluorescent or some other light bulb that's not an LED, but still is energy efficient, just not as energy efficient as it could be. But since there's a lot less of this lighting, it won't add up to much in the end. We'll see this later. Okay, so here I have no partial million lumen hour packets are allowed to be sold. No one has to sell their budget. So if a homeowner wanted to keep all of his budget but not use it, he could keep that light out of the night sky or from being used and from generated power and being needed to cover its use. So here I described the first half of the night, which I already described to you, and that is 2,000 hours a year or less, and that there has to be a declaration that you're going to use for the first half of the night, and it needs to be kept track of, and guidance for installed lumen hour packages to meet lumen hour budgets. And so, for example, the city, 400 billion lumen hours, 8,000 street lights, averages 50 million lumen hours per fixture, 4,000 hours a year, 9,375 lumens per fixture. First half of the night would only be 18,750 lumens of output. This is an example of how you double again. Okay, let's flip this over. And so we were only good here. We only got about 5 more minutes. So Let's skip along here. The total output of lighting for all outdoor lighting covered in this ordinance shall not be more than 1 trillion lumen hours per year. And this adds up at 90 lumens per watt. At 10 cents a kilowatt hour, it adds up to $1 million a year total energy consumption cost for all this lighting. But however, if 60% were at 90 lumens per watt and 40% was at 60 lumens per watt, it would add up to no more than $1.34 million a year at 10 cents a kilowatt hour. And here I have an off-budget sector which we need for Christmas lighting. And it shall consist of no more than 17 billion lumen hours, consisting of a string of lights no more than 100 feet in length using bulbs that are no more than 12 lumens of light output, totaling 620 lumens. This leaves 380 lumens for other purpose, like a Santa Claus interior lit display or something. And again, this budget is free gratis to every individual and can be sold if you don't want to use Christmas lighting, or do you want to sell it to someone else that wants to use a little bit more. Other criteria, if you're not using LED lamps, fluorescent, high pressure sodium, low pressure sodium, as long as the efficiency is over 90 lumens per watt, or for fixtures of 1800 lumens or less, more than 60 lumens per watt. Very important here, no illumination is allowed over 35 foot candles as measured at ground level for any entity other than sports stadiums. All lighting must have a CCT of 3000 Kelvin or less. No blue weighted lighting may be used. Let me see here. No person or entity who has sold their million lumen hour packets may continue to use outdoor lighting beyond their remaining budget. And we get into here the penalties and fines, which the first is, of course, a warning, and then no more than $10 per fixture. Third violation, no more than $25 per fixture. And then the fourth violation is $100 per fixture, or the removal of the person's or entity's entire outdoor lighting budget if the fine cannot be paid. And sports stadium, we control the fact that they must be turned off within 30 minutes of the end of play. And also, we mentioned here, or airport beacons, safety, tower safety lighting, and so forth is exempt from this ordinance, and so is automobile headlights and so forth. But anyway, and then you have the typical signature. So this is just a 4-page ordinance. It's very simple, straightforward, but it does something that no ordinance in the United States, no outdoor lighting ordinance has ever done, and that is control the total amount of lighting. All lighting is full cutoff, and everyone's on a budget which is computer controlled and kept track of, and it would be for a city of the near future in which not only do they want to control light pollution, but they want to control the total amount of energy used for outdoor lighting. Now, in the example I've just given here, we'll get into this a little later because I'm going to shoot a separate video on the math section. So, but it would only take 2.5 to 3.5 megawatts of generation capacity to operate all this lighting. And again, I've told you what the total cost is. So, and this is not much. When I worked for the university, we ran a 4.2 megawatt jet turbine. So this is a very small amount of the total electrical consumption society at large uses for all purposes. So there we are. There's my model outdoor lighting ordinance, and the numbers have been slightly adjusted to 300 billion lumen hours for the city, 300 billion lumen hours for businesses, and 400 billion lumen hours for 100,000 people in the city. And this is how it's apportioned and what can be sold and so forth. And I think it's a pretty startling ordinance in its ability to not only control light pollution, but control the total amount of energy used. And there's a lot of incentives in it to do things right. So I'll leave it there, and we'll talk about the math in the next video.